some, brighten some people's day, you'd be like, then they're good to go into that place and their liability is covered by their provider, whoever that is, whether it's No Dog Left Behind or elsewhere. Whereas like ESA dogs don't by default have public access rights, but can. It's just more complicated with our current legislation in Saskatchewan, where they have to like reach out for some assistance to determine if their dog qualifies or would qualify by reaching out to like Saskatchewan Human Rights and so forth. So anyway, one big thing I wanted to just mention, so I'm not really having a discussion, it's broadcasting more in this moment, but is we are expanding our service dog operations substantially, which is exciting. It's fun, it's cool, it's interesting. And well, I need to say that brings on a lot of puppies, and they're adorable and they're super cute. I'll see if I could bring up some pictures while I talk. I don't know if I'll be able to do it. Multitasking is not my strong suit, so bear with me. But for instance, we just brought a couple puppies on deck here into our program. We already have, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4. We had 4, and then we added 2 more into our program. So we're running at 6 right now. And there'll be more to come here shortly. But what this really means to you, potentially, is to consider becoming a puppy raiser. Now, we only need a couple. And not now in the coming months, but it's just to, consider, if it would be something that might be a curiosity to you in the future, is if, you would consider helping out with that type of thing. So for puppy raisers, basically the dog lives with the puppy raiser for about 4 months. And during that time, the puppy raiser volunteers to raise the puppy for us to minimize the cost of acquiring the service dog for the recipient, because it's costly endeavor to raise them, train them, medical care for them, and feed them. And then ultimately the cost has to get placed somewhere, which we get sponsored by certain entities at times, but sometimes it's just people paying out of pocket for the dog. And to minimize these costs, it's really helpful to have some puppy raising homes that are willing to essentially foster the dog for 4 months, the puppy. It's basically just like fostering, except like we pay for everything. So like No Dog Left Behind would pay for its food. You would get group dog training classes. You get access to our Puppy Einstein program, which is like 20-week step-by-step puppy raising guide. With weekly Zoom calls and stuff like that, where you just get so much support if you need it and when you need it, as well as the puppy raisers would get access to our probably 1 or 2 6-week daycare and training puppy programs that we offer. So it makes it like as simple as possible to raise the puppy as best as possible, to see if it could be a service dog prospect, primarily in the psychiatric field, like post-traumatic stress assistance, for example. But anyways, I'm going to see if I can wrangle up a few pictures for you and get the heartstrings going. But I'm having a tough time figuring out how to do so on my computer at the moment, but I found it. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here pretty soon, as soon as I can sort that out. There we go. And you should be able to see some pictures. Here's the 2 little squirts. They're pretty darn cute, just saying. Sleepy time. Here's a handsome little boy doing some stuff, hanging out, getting exposed to some yard work, whippersnippers, lawn care equipment. It's so important to expose them to a lot of things in safe environments, of course. Like we'll carry them all over the place if they're not vaccinated yet, are adequately vaccinated enough at the time, but this is obviously in the puppy raiser's yard. Go for a little bit of a bus ride, get some of that weird movement going. It's like, this is kind of weird, but okay. And then they just get used to it and they're like, oh, this is just normal part of life. go for a little rip at the being held, of course, at the show and shine to get exposed to some more people and cars and weird sounds and all the things. But needless to say, it would just be something like this is what you would be, you know, part of, something, you know, bigger, something that is really beneficial to someone in the future to help them, in some cases, you know, kind of live their life the way they want to, or that the way that they used to, that, you know, they might not be able to without the support of an assistance animal. So I'll probably link up, put a link in the comments of this post if you're interested in learning more about it. We have like a short application just to get into a discussion of what it all entails, but essentially, to remind, is very simply, we provide all the training support, health, food, all, give you all the tools and all the costs. We take on all the costs of doing all those things. Essentially, we just need you to help us, because there's only so many of us, and the way we're expanding, we want to help more people in this field, and I can't do it without amazing, kind, considerate, caring people joining our team. So you could consider that. Probably will need a couple more homes in the next 6 weeks. Nothing just yet, but we'd just like to drop a seed of consideration for the future. The last thing I'll touch on is just speaking a little bit about our program, since I kind of brought it up anyways, is that yes, we do have a service dog training program, and there's 2 tiers to it. One tier is leading owner trained teams, where we help someone who comes to us with a dog that they want to train to be their service dog. And myself or a team member lead them through the training process to get them there. So that's one avenue. You know, obviously we do testing and make sure the dog has the aptitude to start training. It's not any dog can't do this. There's been many times I've had to, unfortunately, I don't really want to say reject, but I can't think of a better word right now, decline moving forward with a prospect dog, because I noticed some significant behavioral issues that were not going to be able to be treated to the what's the word, degree that I felt was necessary for the dog to be a safe and suitable candidate for service, being in public all the time. So those are tough conversations, but they do happen. But anyhow, with our program anyways, the owner trained one tends to be in like 3 phases. It just depends on the age of the dog, and we support our clients through each of those phases, to all the way up to certification, which we do through Canadian Association of Service Dog Trainers. But anyways, it's a whole nother conversation and about Saskatchewan certification and what does that mean, and how do, there's a lot of gray area, so I won't get into it in this moment. But the other thing we do is provide fully trained program, if you will, service dogs, where we acquire the dog, we get it trained, and then we deploy it with the recipient once the dog is ready, and we integrate it into their family step by step. So that's really helpful, because some people just don't have the time or capacity or you know, ability to do any owner training stuff. And sometimes people have the funding to get a program service dog, and it just makes more sense to them to do so. So that is a service that we offer as well. Anyways, so if you ever have any more questions about this, feel free to reach out to me directly, or share this video with anyone who wants to know a bit more about service dogs. But we are going to be exponentially expanding here the rest of the year for our service dog division. And you know, if you want to help out with that, that'd be amazing. If you want to share with your friends or family or whomever that if they need some more additional information about what this looks like, or some options for them, not even necessarily through us, but we could try to help as best as we can. In any event, I'm going to cut this call, and I hope that information finds you well. And, you know, feel free to shoot in the comments if you have any questions about anything that I've said, and don't forget to #live or #replay, because the more comments we get on here, the more people will see it. So it just helps to spread this awareness. Take care. Have a wonderful weekend. Yeah, it's Friday now, so enjoy your weekend.